Hey guys, and welcome to today's idiot video. In today's video, we're going to be covering everyone's favorite flat earth Neander ape and 2019 Dumbfuck of the Year nominee, JM Truth TV, in his video titled Physics 103, Gas Pressure. Where'd the universe go? So glue some padding to your face for protection. Don't say I didn't warn you. And let's begin.
Shalom, my friends.
Shalom, JM.
My name is Joshua Michael, and I'd like to welcome you to jamtruth.com. This is the Science 100 series. This class is Science 103 on gas pressure. And I've subtitled this class, Where Did the Universe Go? Because by the end of the class, I'm going to reveal to you that you don't live where you think you do. And that question, where did the universe go, is going to be answered by the end of this class.
I'm pretty positive that you don't understand how stupid that statement is. We live inside the universe, so asking where it has gone is like asking where your car has gone while driving your car. JM Truth, you're an idiot.
So let's get started. First, we are told by mainstream science that we live on a globe, that there's an atmosphere, and just beyond that atmosphere, there's a vacuum of space and stars and the sun and all this stuff. So with the beginning of the scientific method, you must first start with a question. So here's the question. How do you have a gas pressure, also known as atmospheric pressure, without a container to begin with?
And so begins the lack of any true scientific knowledge, because gas pressure is not the same thing as atmospheric pressure, you idiot. Yes, they share the same word pressure, which is the force per unit area. However, gas pressure is generated from gas molecules smashing up against the walls of the container, whereas the atmospheric pressure is generated from the weight of all the molecules above you pressing down on you.
Folks, I think this is the basis of our understanding, the basis of this course and this class, and we need to really look at this question because we're going to really dive deep into this particular question. So let's bring the board on. So here's the question. How do you have a gas pressure, also known as atmospheric pressure, without a container to begin with?
Again, gas pressure is not the same as atmospheric pressure, but JM Truth is the same as an idiot. Gas pressure requires a container because the force that we're measuring is generated from the gas molecules on the inside colliding with the walls of the container. Atmospheric pressure, on the other hand, is generated from the weight of the entire atmosphere above you. So at the surface, you will have a higher atmospheric pressure than you would at the top of a mountain, but only because you have more atmosphere above you at the surface than you do at the top of a mountain.
Folks, in order to start the process, we first need to define gas pressure. So let's start with the definition of gas pressure. The pressure of a gas is the force that gas exerts on the walls of its container. Okay, that's from chemistryelmhurst.edu. Let's read that again. The pressure of a gas is the force that gas exerts on the walls of its container. Next page.
If you want people to believe you and take you seriously, you probably shouldn't be just throwing your trash everywhere, littering like a piece of shit idiot.
To have a gas pressure, it must have a container to begin with. It must be contained within walls in a sealed container. Folks, that's the very definition of gas pressure.
So now let's define atmospheric pressure, which is the pressure generated from the weight of the atmosphere above you. Completely different than gas pressure and requires no container. You see, JM, you can't just use one definition to describe everything, especially things that are completely different. You're an idiot.
Bear with me for a minute, folks. Let's look at this. If I remove either of these conditions, either the collision of molecules or the walls of the container, do I have a gas pressure? No!
Right, but as I've said before, and will probably say many times in this video, gas pressure is not the same thing as atmospheric pressure. In gas pressure, the density of the gas inside of the container is essentially the same from the top to the bottom. In atmospheric pressure, the pressure is greatest near the surface and decreases as you go up in elevation. And this is because as you go up in elevation, you decrease the amount of atmospheric mass on top of you being pulled down. Picture this. Let's say that we have 10 sumo wrestlers laying down, stacked on top of each other. Where could you insert yourself so that you felt the greatest amount of pressure? Well, you could slide yourself between the ground and the sumo wrestlers, and then you would feel the pressure of 10 sumo wrestlers being pulled down on top of you. Now what would happen if we inserted ourselves between the first and second sumo wrestlers? Well, now we only have the pressure of one sumo wrestler being pulled down on top of us.
Pressure is proportional to the number of molecular collisions and the force of those collisions in the particular area. Okay? Without the walls of a container, there can be no pressure.
Oh my God, you're such an idiot. Pressure does not require a container. Only a particular type of pressure, and for a very good reason. The gas molecules needed for gas pressure are in constant motion, so without a container to contain them, they would just get further and further away from each other. And in this scenario, there would be no gas pressure.
It's like having an atmosphere and a vacuum in the same place. It's an oxymoron, folks. You can't have it.
You gotta love when a flat earth idiot turns to an oxymoron for help in exemplifying his stupidity. Of course you can't have an atmosphere and a vacuum in the same place. By definition, they're mutually exclusive. If you have a vacuum, then there is no atmosphere. And if you have an atmosphere, then it's not a vacuum.
Anyway, let's look at another definition. A gas is a sample of matter that conforms to the shape of its container in which it is held and acquires a uniform density inside the container, meaning it equalizes, folks.
Did you say a uniform density? We'll remember that you said that later in this video.
Even in the presence of gravity, and regardless of the amount of substance in the container. So regardless of whether you believe gravity or not, you still must have a container. Okay? It doesn't matter.
Fairy tale, JM. Fairy tale. Like the tail on the back of a horse and not the tale that you tell people when discussing your scientific qualifications. You are a fucking idiot.
If not confined to a container, gaseous matter, known as vapor, will disperse into space. Let's read that again. If not confined to a container, gaseous matter, known as vapor, will disperse into space. Folks, it's called increasing entropy. It's called the entropic force. It's the second law of thermodynamics.
No, it's not, you idiot. And I'm tired of flat earthers misrepresenting the second law of thermodynamics, which states that entropy will increase over time in an isolated system. The Earth's atmospheric model is not an isolated system, as it takes in energy from the sun. Therefore, the second law of thermodynamics does not properly apply. Besides, if the gas molecules were cold enough, then they wouldn't have enough energy to escape the Earth's gravitational pull, especially the heavier elements like nitrogen, oxygen, and argon.
The term gas is also used in reference to the state or condition of matter having this property. Let's look at another one. The atoms and molecules in gases are much more spread out than in solids or liquids, meaning they vibrate and move freely and at high speeds. A gas will fill any container, but if the container is not sealed, the gas will escape. That's from sciencelearn.org. Okay, let's look at another one. Gases behave differently from the other two commonly states of matter, solids and liquids. So we have different methods of treating and understanding how gases behave under certain conditions. Gases, unlike, big word there.
Oh, JM, did you really just say that unlike was a big word? You really are an idiot.
Solids or liquids have neither fixed volume or shape. They are molded entirely by the container in which they are held. And that's from the University of North Carolina. Can anyone see where I'm going with this? Anyone?
Oh, I can. Looks to me like you're sprinting as fast as you can down Idiot Avenue on your way to Stupid Street before ending your journey as the winner of the 2019 Dumbfuck of the Year Award. Sponsored by Red's Rhetoric.
Going once? Going twice? No? Well, let's move on. So this is from our friends at NASA, folks. The molecules are in constant random motion and frequently collide with each other and the walls of the container, because molecules are in motion and gas will expand to fill the container. Since density is defined to be the mass divided by volume, density depends directly on the size of the container in which the fixed mass of gas is confined. And that's from our good friends at NASA. Of course, someone's going to say, but Josh, you don't believe what NASA says. Technically, that's true. Most of what NASA presents us, I have found to be pseudoscience and not correct.
So in your opinion, it's perfectly acceptable to accept evidence from an unreliable source like NASA because they agree with you in this instance. Seems a bit hypocritical and disingenuous, especially given the number of times that you've personally said that NASA lies to us and deceives us to take our money. I guess they're completely legitimate when they aren't disagreeing with you. But JM Truth, you're an idiot.
However, in this particular instance, according to what they've put out as far as gas and gas pressure is concerned, they are correct in regards to what genuine science is already established.
Wow, you really are clueless as to how far you're sticking your own foot in your own ass. So now, not only is NASA an acceptable and reputable source of information, but so is the scientific consensus? Keep in mind, JM, the scientific consensus says that space exists and that the sun is 93 million miles away. Do you also accept those facts? Or do you just accept the facts that support your dumbass beliefs? JM Truth, you're a hypocrite and an idiot.
Okay, so I've just given you 7 different scientific citations, all 7 of which specifically mention a container. In fact, the word container appears 14 times within those 7 citations.
And of those 7 definitions, which were pretty much just you repeating yourself over and over, how many times did you define atmospheric pressure? None. Because atmospheric pressure and gas pressure are completely different, and you're too much of a fucking idiot to understand why.
I don't know. It's probably just a coincidence. In fact, the word container probably isn't even all that important. We probably can just throw it out, right? Folks, gas pressure is specifically defined by the container and the walls in which it's held.
I don't know, JM. It's probably just a coincidence that you're conflating atmospheric pressure with gas pressure, and you're not actually trying to apply the definition of one to both of them. I mean, it must be that, because it couldn't be that you just don't know what you're talking about and you're a total idiot, right?
Now, I didn't actually see this until Quantum Eraser on YouTube pointed out.
JM Truth, I know you're going to find this hard to believe, but Quantum Eraser is an even bigger idiot than you are.
And then I don't know whether it's just you opened my eyes to it or what, but now I see it everywhere. And everybody is yelling gas pressure gradient in an attempt to explain away the needing of a barrier between Earth's atmosphere and space.
Oh my God, you're such a simpleton. The gas pressure gradient doesn't explain away the need for a barrier so that gas pressure can be present, but it does show that no barrier exists. Remember earlier in the video when I said we should remember what JM said? Here, I'll play it for you.
A gas is a sample of matter that conforms to the shape of its container in which it is held and acquires a uniform density inside the container.
According to JM Truth and his source, for gas pressure to be present, there must be a uniform density throughout the entire gas. In JM's own words,
meaning it equalizes, folks.
But what do we see everywhere we look, JM?
Gas pressure gradient.
Therefore, it isn't gas pressure you're talking about. It's atmospheric pressure, and atmospheric pressure doesn't need a container. JM Truth, you are an idiot.
So this is the problem when people use a term out of context and try to use it to explain something they really don't understand.
That's like the pot calling the kettle black. This reminds me of that time where you referred to yourself as a physicist and research scientist when you have no fucking clue what a physicist actually is.
I'm not going to speak for Nathan. I am a physicist that does experiment and lots of them. There is no, and a research scientist.
JM Truth, you're not a physicist, you're an idiot.
So people are yelling gas pressure gradient, okay? So let's see here. Answer this question. What comes first, gas pressure or gas pressure gradient?
God damn it, JM. Stop littering, you idiot. But to answer your question, you cannot have a gas pressure gradient without any gas pressure to begin with. And in an isolated system, once the gases have reached a state of equilibrium, you can have gas pressure without a gas pressure gradient. Therefore, gas pressure comes first, but that was a dumbass question to begin with.
First, answer this question. How do you have a gas pressure, also known as atmospheric pressure, without a container to begin with?
As I've already stated several times in this video, gas pressure is not the same as atmospheric pressure. JM Truth, you're an idiot.
Not pressure, not water pressure, gas pressure, okay? Because you can't compare water pressure to gas pressure. That's called a false equivalency fallacy. What does that mean?
Well, I would assume that it means the same thing as comparing atmospheric pressure to gas pressure. It's a false equivalency, and you're an idiot.
It means you're using two separate states of matter or two completely separate things to try to compare one to another. It'd be like comparing cows and apples. You know, it makes no sense.
Then why would you think that comparing atmospheric pressure to gas pressure is the same thing? Unless you aren't educated enough to know the difference. But it's too late to go back on all the stupid shit you've already said that made you look like a total fucking idiot.
Okay, let's look at why for a minute, okay? Why? So the question is why? Even though liquids, like water, and gases are arbitrarily classified as fluids, liquids are not gases. Okay? And number two, water pressure still requires a container. Look at oceans, folks. Okay? You have the bottom and you have the walls, and it contains the oceans in. There's no ceiling. The difference is water does not have to be in a sealed container, and there's a reason for that, okay? However, it does not have to be in a sealed container because water is made of H2O molecules that have intermolecular bonds, i.e. they do not move freely and at high speeds. Now, gas, because they do not have intermolecular bonds and do move at high speeds.
Okay, so we're just going to ignore everything that idiot just said and turn it over to Writer of Dinosaurs for a few moments.
Thanks, Team Skeptic. Let's look at these two sentences and see what's happening here. Let's start with the first one. Even though liquids, water, and gases are arbitrarily classified as fluid, liquids are not gases. Wow, so much wrong in one sentence. Where to start? Why are water and gases capitalized? It doesn't make any sense. You should only capitalize the first word of a sentence, people's names, and proper nouns like cities, countries, companies, religions, or whatever. Water and gases are definitely not one of those. Oh, JM. But there's more. That's not how you spell arbitrarily. Really. Get a spell checker. And what's with the missing comma between fluid and liquids? Do you really think it should read classified as fluid, liquids are not gases? Or should it read as classified as fluid, liquids are not gases? So put a comma between fluid and liquids. Oh, and by the way, finish the sentence with a period, also known as full stop in the United Kingdom. I know what everyone is thinking. I'm being pedantic. Why, do you ask? Well, once JM said this.
I have a scholar's background, not that I even like talking about it, and I had to put it on my website because of the debate and discussion over this, but I have a Master's of Science degree, so I've done my research. I did my master's degree in 1 year. I got a 3.75 GPA. I have dismantled all of both Newton's and Einstein's theories.
Now, since we've finished with the first sentence, let's move on to the next one. Water pressure still requires a container. However, it does not have to be a sealed container because water is made of H2O molecules that have intermolecular bonds, i.e., they do not move freely at high speeds. Whoa, that was like running a marathon. Let's see how many we can find this time. Pressure, again capitalizing a word that should not be capitalized for the reasons stated before. The comma after container in red. It should be a full stop, period, for you Americans. Now this next one really baffles me. Whoever? Really? I guess you meant to say however. Next, we have a really long run-on sentence. But if we add a comma after sealed container, it starts to look a lot better, right? Next, we have the intermolecular bonds. 2 more words that are capitalized that shouldn't be. Again, to make sense of things, a comma is also necessary after the word bonds. And finally, we have I. It should be I, full stop, E, full stop, not I, full stop. With that makes 13 mistakes in a single slide. I can't even. Team Skeptic, please add 13 points to the counter. Because JM, you're a fallacious guy. You thought I was going to say it, didn't you? No, because JM, you're a bloody idiot.
So here's the $1 million question, folks. How do we have a gas pressure, also known as atmospheric pressure, here on Earth, if in fact we're on a spinning ball?
The fact that the Earth is spinning has nothing to do with the need for a container. You know, because of gravity and shit. And you earned yourself another dinger for conflating atmospheric pressure with gas pressure once again. Because JM Truth, you're an idiot.
Stop. Let me ask that a different way. Where's the lid to the container in which we live? Now, I've got the answer for you. Some of you are not going to like this, but that's okay. I never said you'd like it. I simply said it would be the truth.
The truth is, every time you throw your shit on the ground, you prove more and more that you actually deserve the Dumbfuck of the Year award. And it's becoming a common theme on YouTube for channels with the word truth in their title to be hardly interested in any actual truth whatsoever. Now, I think it's time we move past his limited understanding of gas and atmospheric pressure and see what else this idiot gets wrong.
So I don't know, is there other...
What the JM, did you just all of a sudden change the lighting? Because the lighting in this clip is completely different than the lighting in the rest of your video. Maybe this is something they taught him in film production school, or maybe JM Truth just threw all that education out because it was indoctrination, and he decided to do it his way. You know, the way of the idiot.
planetoid forms or other things that NASA's told us that are gaseous, spherical places that we're told really exist, like most of the planets, I guess, in our solar system. How are they even existing without a container?
Because planets, or planetoid forms as you called them, don't need a container to exist, you moron. The stupid is strong with this idiot. But we haven't got to our pot of gold yet, so let's continue.
In fact, now that I think about it, the sun, we're told, is a big gaseous ball burning in space in a vacuum.
And now we have reached our pot of gold.
By the way, since we're on the subject of vacuums, fire, the element by which the sun exerts its energy,
JM Truth, you may just be the dumbest flat earther ever. First, the sun doesn't burn. It essentially glows. And second, fire isn't an element, and the sun isn't on fucking fire. You are an idiot.
And I don't care if it's nuclear fission or what, it's still fire.
The sun isn't on fire, you idiot. And it's nuclear fusion, not nuclear fission.
Needs what element, folks, in order to continue to burn? Oxygen. But wait, there's no oxygen in space. How is it burning?
I thought you said you were a physicist. Sounds to me like you're a Dunning-Kruger idiot. Because the sun isn't on fire, so it doesn't need oxygen to burn. As hydrogen fuses into helium, it loses a tiny bit of mass. And that mass is converted into energy via the Einsteinian equation E = mc squared. And that's how the sun produces light, by the photons that are emitted during the process of nuclear fusion.
So here's my hypothesis, which technically is all it can be because there's no way NASA or anyone else has ever studied the sun, because there's no way to get close enough to it.
That's not something that an actual physicist would say, but it is in line with the uneducated ramblings of a Dunning-Kruger idiot. Are you under the impression that we have to actually be able to touch the sun to be able to study it? Well, that's just incorrect. And here are a few facts about the sun that we know from observation alone. With spectroscopy, we can determine what elements make up the sun and what percentage of each element makes up the sun. Also with spectroscopy, we find evidence to support Einstein's general theory of relativity by measuring the gravitational redshift of photons leaving the surface of the sun. We can directly measure the energy output from the sun, and around 2014, science confirmed that the sun's energy output has essentially been the same for the past 100,000 years. Yeah, science is cool.
Okay? But my hypothesis, it's not a ball of gas. It's also probably not 93 million miles away, because light doesn't travel forever, folks.
Light doesn't travel forever? Are you fucking kidding me right now, JM? Again, this is not something that an actual physicist would say, because an actual physicist would know that photons travel at a constant rate of about 300,000 kilometers per second, also known as c, which stands for constant, which means it doesn't change ever. It doesn't slow down, it doesn't stop, and you're an idiot.
Since we're talking about vacuums, how do you have a vacuum that's not in a container?
How do you have a vacuum without a container? What does that even mean? At this point, I'm having trouble figuring out what the stupidest thing you've said in this video was.
Again, gas. The negative side of that, or the opposite side of that, would also be negative gas, or a vacuum, okay? Which also would need to be held in a container.
And just when I thought there was no topping the stupid, you go and prove me wrong again. Bravo, JM. Bra-fucking-O. So now, the vacuum of space is negative gas. And that's why we need a container. Keep in mind, this is the idiot that said 10 to the negative 17 torr was negative pressure.
Hey, just in case I was wrong, JM, is space a negative pressure system?
Absolutely is.
No.
Okay,
it's
all right, great.
not.
I was just making sure.
We'll talk about that.
17 negative torr is absolutely negative
No,
pressure.
no. Hold on. Hey, that's not what he said, is it, Nathan? Say what you said about the.
He said
what's
it,
the
he asked if it was a negative pressure system.
No,
It is a negative pressure system.
no. He didn't say it was negative 17 torr. What did you say it was, Nathan?
The whole time I've been saying
10
space
to the
is
negative
allegedly-
17. Hold on. You said
Yeah,
10 to
it
the
is-
negative
it is
17.
10 to the, yeah,
10
it's
to the negative
17.
17. 10 to the negative 17th is a positive number, guys.
That
No, it's-
doesn't mean negative.
It
That's
is
a positive number.
numbers. That's 0.0
Okay, all right,
with
all right,
17
all right,
zeros
all right,
and a
all
1.
right, all right. We'll discuss this later.
Yeah.
A
Fletcher,
positive number should represent a negative pressure.
Correct.
It's a positive number.
that doesn't make
That's
sense.
correct. If we go to a laboratory and look at a vacuum, we can only create a vacuum in a container. Yet we're told that on this earth, all this oxygen stays here on Earth by gravity. But there is no gravity.
Then why do we have an atmospheric pressure gradient, JM? And why do all accelerometers read about 10 meters per second squared towards the ground, JM? And for the love of Jeebus, why do you and almost everything else on this earth accelerate towards the ground in free fall at that exact same rate? Desert File, would you please politely explain to JM why this happens?
Gravity, you fucking retard! Gravity! Have you ever heard of fucking gravity? Gravity! Gravity!
JM Truth, you are an idiot.
And I've just shown you that you can't have a gas pressure without a container. So all the pseudoscience that we've been taught, folks.
And I know what you guys are thinking, that I, Team Skeptic, in an effort to make JM Truth look dumber than he already does, edited that video to make it look that unprofessional. Because it's he, not I, that has a bachelor's degree in film production and is outstanding in his field. So there's no possible way that he could have made that clip look that bad, right? Wrong, because you forgot that JM Truth is an idiot. And that edit comes from his original video, which will be linked in the description.
That having been said, that ends my class for today.
More littering by the idiot. Now I'd like to take the time out to thank JM Truth TV for putting out so much stupidity in 2019 that he's essentially a shoo-in for the Dumb Fuck of the Year award. Because JM Truth, you are a fucking idiot. Alright guys, thanks for sticking around until the end of the video for what can only be diagnosed as mental masochism. Be sure to hit that like button and subscribe if you haven't done so already. And leave a comment below letting me know what you think the dumbest thing that JM Truth has said in the year 2019. A massive shout out to all of my patrons and channel members whose support helps me keep doing what I love to do. And if you'd like to support my fight against pseudoscientific stupidity, you can find me on Patreon or you can become a channel member by clicking the join link below. I'm Father Skeptic, and I'm out.